to be this person in this field, you need to be courageous. You need to believe in yourself. You need to be confident and really see your male colleagues, your male classmates, they are not that better than you.
I think we've all felt out of place at some point in our lives. We've had that imposter syndrome and the belief that we're not qualified or good enough. And that voice can hold us back. Moving the Needles presents Sowing Change, a podcast exploring change in all of its forms. Change can be small, subtle, and nuanced, and we're here to show you that you can be a change maker wherever you are. I'm your host, Toffy Char, and on the show today, Dr. Sibia Ranjbar. Sibia is a healthcare consultant with experience working in the pharmaceuticals industry. Originally from northern Iran, Sibia came to the U.S. in pursuit of her PhD degree in environmental biotechnology and is an advocate for girls in STEM. She has worn multiple hats in her career, ranging from a researcher to a project manager. Sibia, welcome to Sowing Change.
Thank you for having me.
So Sibia, I know you're originally from Iran. Can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing and background and what led you to the U.S.?
Which part of it? Okay, so let me go back. We had a small immediate family, but I grew up in a large community, like uncles, aunts, my cousins, grandparents. So every single family event was a huge feast of everything that you can imagine. I grew up in a culture that value food and cooking. So right now I really like doing that, and it reminds me of home. After getting my degree in Iran, I got my undergrad and master degree in chemical engineering. I worked for 5 years, and at that point of my life, I had a big life event. I was married for 6 years, and I separated from my husband, and we eventually got divorced, and I needed a change. I thought that would be a good time to actually explore and try to live in another part of the world. I didn't aim for United States. I wanted to go Europe first, but because I was looking into how I can make this experience an easier or maybe a productive experience, I wanted to take the route of being a student and go back to school. So finally, I got accepted to a school in the U.S. and I came here.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you so much for opening up and being, just very candid and vulnerable with us. I'm also curious, how did you get into engineering?
All right. I don't know how it is in Iran now, but back then, if you were a good student, you had two majors that you would go into, either life sciences and you become a doctor, or you would go to math and you become an engineer. Me being good at math, it was just basically known from the day zero that I would become an engineer. If I go back now, I might choose something else. I don't know what, but...
Was it common for women to become engineers in Iran? Were you in the minority?
Definitely in minority, but it was dependent on the major. Like, for example, mechanical engineering was dominated by male students, but I was a chemical engineer. For some reason, they thought, I don't know how it happened, but we had like the highest number of female students.
Yeah. And I know that since then you describe yourself as a advocate for women in STEM. Knowing that right now women only comprise of a quarter of the people working in STEM, what do you think needs to change? What does the industry need to do differently?
Back home when I was an engineer, when I started working, I felt very, I would say, I would use the word lonely. I was really one of the few, and I remember that I was hardly taken seriously, like in meetings, different ways, or like given opportunity to like learn something, explore something, or express something. But that said, I grew up in a family so the only thing that mattered was your capability. If you could do something, nobody would have stopped you so I didn't grow up in a family that they would have stopped me of doing anything. But I know how hard it could be for people to be the first in their family, the first in their city, town, even country. And being a woman engineer, I would say you're one of the minority. I mean, you're a minority in the entire world. Mm-hmm. So that led me to the point that it's really important to have role model for anyone, to be the person that other people could look up at to you and kind of see that's possible. That I thought probably US would be in a better shape because there are a lot of great women engineers. There are a lot of amazing women in leadership, but you can still see that it's not the same everywhere. In big cities, it's so different from small cities, in rural areas. And I just felt that you need to handhold these kids because this internal voice that I cannot do it is very strong. And if you have someone who could help you, support you, kind of remind you that you are capable, you can do it, that would make a huge difference.
Yeah. Did you have any role models while you were going through this?
I wouldn't. I mean, there are a lot of people that I looked up into, but I'm the first person with graduate degree in my family, so they were not in my immediate family. I would say I can't name one person, but there were a lot of strong women who fought for what they wanted and what they want to create in their lives that I looked up to.
I think you began to touch on this a little bit, which is if you have that voice inside of you saying that you can't do something, find someone to look up to, right? Find a role model. And going along those veins, do you have any other advice that you want to give to young adults who might be interested in entering the STEM field? If there are any skills that they should have, especially women?
I would say to be this person in this field, you need to be courageous. You need to believe in yourself. You need to be confident and really see your male colleagues, your male classmates. They are not that better than you. They're just they might be more vocal. They might be less scared to speak up. I would say being present to that and knowing that whatever your thoughts are or your ideas are worth it, share it. Worst case scenario is going to be a terrible idea. Who cares? So I would say every time after sharing a lot of terrible ideas, you're going to have one amazing idea. So just speak up. Don't be afraid and talk about your concerns. Talk to your peers. Talk to whoever who could keep you accountable for what's matter to you, and then just live your life.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that advice. I'm wondering, in everyone's journey, I feel like there's always ups and downs. Mm-hmm. Was there ever a moment, whether it was back in Iran or when you moved to the US, that you felt like, oh, this is not for me, I can't do this? Was there ever that really low moment?
Yes, a lot of those low moments. But to be honest, there is something that I know about myself is that I don't know how it happened, but I have a very strong drive for living. So no matter how low I am, I was able to kind of take myself out of that very low level. But it happened a lot. It happened a lot, especially after my PhD. During my PhD, it was tough, a very stressful experience. And after that, a lot of uncertainty. I didn't know if I would have proper visa to stay here. What would be the next step? Can I find a job? Would it be something that I wanna do? Am I gonna enjoy it? All of those moments, I experienced a lot of low moments, but thinking about it, not being afraid of those low moments, not thinking that this is only me who is experiencing that, and being able to talk about it to other people. Along the way, I found so many amazing people who supported me. So definitely it's not a rare thing to have those low moments.
Yeah, no, I think I like what you said about you have this really strong willingness to live and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and just, it sounds like whatever that light is, just hold on to it and keep anchored to it and have that willingness to work towards it. And yeah, I guess, since this is a podcast about sort of creating change, no matter where you are, no matter what career you're in, I'm curious as to how you are creating change and moving the needles within your career and where you are now.
That's a very good question. I've been actually thinking about what's next step for me and what I want to do. I've been very involved with Society of Women Engineers, but it's been a long time that I didn't do any activity with them. I've been in lookout for something new, but at least at work, what I'm trying to do is to take on a mentorship role. Whenever I get a chance to help someone, support someone, I think I'll jump into it. So for now, I see myself as a mentor or wherever possible, and I'll let you know whenever I find.
No, I think mentorship is a great thing, and I think it alludes to something you said earlier, which is look up to a role model. So I think maybe another layer to that is a role model, but also having a mentor to sort of guide you and help you when you do fall down. And our fun question, do you have an inspirational book or a quote that you'd like to suggest or share?
Okay, so when you told me that you're going to ask me this question, I was like, do I have anything to share? I don't remember any quotes, but my favorite book, I read it. It was translated to Farsi, my mother tongue. It's called Paulina. It's the story of this little orphan girl who went to live with one of her family members they never met before. And she's super strong, and she has such a kind heart and big heart that she was able to kind of turn around that like very unpleasant situation to an awesome, like everyone started liking him and loving him and created shared love with everyone. So this one, every time that I'm low and I feel hopeless, I read this, and I think that reminds me of that light that I was talking to you about.
That's great.
We'll
Thank
see.
you so much for sharing. I think it's so valuable to have resources that are not only in English, because I think we limit ourselves to one pool of information and knowledge. So I really appreciate the recommendation.
No, but I'm sure I can find the English version of this, and I think it would be a nice read for everyone.
The other question that I had was, I think in this podcast I've been asking you a lot about advice for younger people, and I think that we also have a lot to learn from younger people. So is there a question that you have for the younger generation?
I don't have a question, but I can share my experience of being around younger people. So most of my close friends in the US are much younger than me. When I think about it, why I'm attracted, why my close friends are younger than me, is because they are fresh. They have they are not stuck in a way of living. They explore. They are adventurous. And I enjoy being around these characteristics. So just I believe that you have those things, and those are amazing things to have. And a lot of when you get older, it's easy to lose those and forget. We need those things to have a very rich life. I don't know. It's not a question. It's just
No.
I can share with you why I enjoy being around younger people.
No, I think that's even more valuable in really sharing how each generation has something to offer and everyone has something to offer, and you can feed off of that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Sibia. This was so insightful.
Thank you.
That was Dr. Sibia Ranjbar on growing up in Iran as a woman engineer. Sibia is an advocate for women in STEM and sees herself moving the needles every day by playing a mentorship role to those around her. She shows us that you don't have to be sowing change at a big level, but you can be making a profound difference to those in your immediate circle. Sibia's story reminds me that a lot of times the world creates spaces that are unequal, can make us feel like we don't belong, and that we all have our own struggles and low moments. However, it's important to remember that we need to believe in ourselves, to be vocal, to speak up so we can not only create more room in saturated spaces, but also because we'll find amazing people along the way who are resonating at the same frequency and who will support us. The book Sibia shared is a children's book called Paulina by Anna Maria Matute. You can learn more about Sibia's background and sowing change on our website, movingtheneedles.org. That's movingtheneedles with an S.org. If you liked today's episode, please do subscribe to Sowing Change on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, please do give us a review. Our show today would not have been possible without the help of Linda Tran and Fair Pisuttisarun. Special thanks also to Judy Chen for designing our podcast cover. My name is Toffy Char, and this is Sowing Change.